public to continue to gather where we are. So suffice it to say, whether or not that search is going on elsewhere from where we are, we're allowing people to gather. On the other side. Okay, yeah, they're
It's 9 o'clock on this Thursday night.
Yes, sir.
This is the Live Zone Primetime. I'm producer Chris. This is Tony P.
What's going on,
Thank
everybody?
you so much, everyone, for joining us right now, whether you're watching on Fox Local, fox5dc.com.
We're happy
Fox
you're here.
5's YouTube page. It is a busy night, Tony P. We want to get
Yes.
right to some breaking news that's happening right now up in New England. All right, we lost one of our shots. I'm not going to change it yet,
Okay.
just in case it comes back,
Right,
because
maybe
it's
something.
a lot of work to do that.
Right.
But right now, what you are looking at is 2 live pictures from Salem, New Hampshire, and 1 from Providence, Rhode Island. Providence, Rhode Island, the bottom right corner of the screen. That's where, if we get a police press conference at some point about this Brown University shooting, that's where it could come from. Next to that, bottom left-hand corner, this is Skyfox video above a storage unit. That storage unit is in Salem, New Hampshire. According to Brooke Taylor, a Fox News correspondent on the ground there, she says sources tell her the suspected shooter in the Brown University shooting has a storage unit under his name in the facility. That's the same facility where an abandoned car was found that was also tied to this suspected shooter. Agents had entered the facility. You saw some of them standing outside, but she says that they did not enter his unit. Now, they also say, Brooke Taylor says that video showed that suspected shooter going into the storage facility at some point, but police are still trying to determine if he ever left. So on the top right, you have some video from the ground that's live right now. The bottom left, that is the live chopper feed above that storage unit. Now, remember, if you have not been following this case, this all went down Saturday when an attacker at Brown University killed 2 students and wounded 9 others in a classroom in the school's engineering building. The manhunt has been going on ever since. Now, there's a new connection today as well. Fox News is reporting that the death of an MIT professor about 50 miles away may be linked to the shooting at Brown University as well.
Right, absolutely. And it looks like we're getting some commotion for this press conference in Providence, Rhode Island. It looks like there's a kind of rush of cameras
until we hear anything, we're gonna stay on some of these live pictures.
Just want to make sure. Again, we saw some of that commotion. Could be a press conference in any minute now. So this, just a note for my own personal background. This is where I'm from, in the New England area. So Salem, New Hampshire. For those who don't know, sits at the border of the northern I call it the northern crest of Massachusetts and New Hampshire. So again, most people from my area, Methuen, Haverhill, Mass, we go to New Hampshire to, shop, things of that nature. Where this storage unit is located, it is right adjacent, kind of behind the main business district. The local Simon Mall is there. There's a lot of restaurants in that area. It's very much for the holiday season. It's a very well-trafficked area during this time, which is, again, a component to this. Police in Methuen and Salem, New Hampshire are assisting federal authorities tonight up in Salem, as well as Providence, Rhode Island authorities are in this sort of joint task force. Now, in the video that you were mentioning about before, when agents were going into the storage unit, they were having things like long rifles on them, as well as night vision goggles. We don't know what that tells about the story, but again, there is a lot of, I think, timeliness to this moment, as they may have seen some movement, or maybe he is around the area, things of that nature. So just to note, night vision goggles, long range rifles are being carried, again, also in protective gear. So we don't know what that means 100%, but that's just one angle to this event tonight.
Yeah, and there's been no word officially on a suspect, no motive, no identification.
No name, nothing.
We are still standing by for details on all of that. There has also not been any confirmed link between the shooting of a professor from MIT and the shooting at Brown University. The FBI had previously said it knew of no links between the case. Fox reporting today there could be possible ties. So we are keeping an eye on what it could be, a press conference coming any minute right now. Normally, we get like a 2-minute warning before these sorts of things.
Got it.
We have not heard that yet. Okay,
we're getting
an update from Brooke Taylor, Fox News correspondent right now. I'm going to try to get this tweet for you, but she is reporting, sources confirmed to Brooke Taylor, the suspected shooter has been found dead. Okay, that is from Brooke Taylor. Tony P, talk to me just for a second while I get this tweet.
One of the things that I saw in the research before we came on was the Methuen police and Salem police said that there was no imminent threat to the residents in that area. So potentially there's a link between that and the news we're just getting. This, if he is pronounced dead, was that the reason why there was no imminent threat? Because they started hearing helicopters around 7:30, and police personnel. There was reports taken out. Oh, we have coverage right now of the press conference.
We're going to start on the left. We're going to work our way to the right.
Oh, maybe not. Sorry. Okay. Just to maybe, if I want to make sure I don't want to interrupt that press conference. But again, there was no imminent danger.
20 minutes.
Oh, there you go. Good.
Starting now. Likely longer. Maybe 25 minutes. Thanks.
Okay.
All right, so
minutes.
We are still on standby. Let's put it that way, Tony P.
Got it. I always, I've been new to this business. I always get wary when someone starts talking. I don't want to interrupt them or talk over them. Now, so back to the imminent threat thing. Is that tied potentially to this result that we are hearing right now from Brooke Taylor? Again, there was no imminent threat that was posed to the community when this event was taking place inside the storage unit. So again, that could be tied to it. We're not sure.
There's the post from Brooke Taylor.
Breaking news.
First on Fox, sources confirmed to me that the suspected shooter has been found dead from self-inflicted gunshot wound inside the storage facility. You see below that post on X, you see all of those law enforcement members gathered around right now.
Right.
Tony P and I are no law enforcement experts.
Absolutely not.
But not getting the sense of any major tactical
or engagement back and forth, things of that nature. I'm just looking at some of the local news items. Yep, it is coming in.
You see the post
Fox.
from Brooke Taylor.
Yep.
Sources confirm the suspected shooter. This is the Brown University suspected shooter.
Yep,
has been found dead. We are standing by for a press conference in the meantime.
Yep, and this unit...
Sydney Persing, if you can hear me right now on Zoom, you can probably stand down. Sydney is currently covering the Kennedy Center news. She was going to join us live. That was our lead up until all of this happened.
Right.
Sydney, you can stand down. I'll be in touch if anything changes, but for the time being, we're going to stand by for this press conference. Thank you, Sydney. So Tony P,
Yep.
obviously this has been one of those stories that has
Yes.
captivated attention, not just for the heinousness of the crime that happened on Saturday, but also the, for lack of a better phrase, the lack of progress that had happened over the most recent days. There wasn't much surveillance video.
No.
There was criticism about why there wasn't much surveillance
Yes.
video, why there weren't cameras in the classroom or in the hallways or at the entrance to the building where this shooting took place. We didn't have great images of the person of
No.
interest or the suspect.
They had one
There
wrong
was
person
no
of interest.
name. Yeah, that's right.
Exactly. So like there was there was some comparisons being made for the FBI's performance at the outset of this compared to the Charlie Kirk horrendous shooting in September, where they said they had someone, then they had to release that person of interest, and they finally found the actual person who did it. So similar, again, not the same, but similar criticisms of the FBI response and from the top and behavior, things of that nature in the evidence collection phase of this case or suspect identification, right? And now it looks like they have found the suspect, but again, a similar traction. Also, there's criticism from the Trump administration inside the White House that there wasn't enough security measures for cameras, or some of the issues with the policing on campus wasn't enough. Was it proper for finals season? Was there enough response time from the campus police and that type of nature? So, again, the policing, the defense side of this is definitely being criticized on both the federal side as well as the more, I would say, campus local, not local Providence PD, but the Brown PD and the local campus work. So that's one thing that is a major part of this case. And what was so very sad. And again, we talked to, there's also some local connections here, about people on campus. We did, Jim Loki did a great interview a couple nights ago with one of the students that witnessed this. We also had a student that was 12 years old in 2018 during the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas shooting in Florida. They were at the middle school right adjacent and witnessed the shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, and now were party to this and were, again, directly impacted by the shooting at Brown. And again, it was just the beginning of a horrendous weekend of violence that we saw in the United States as well as around the world when it came to the shooting at Brown that took two precious lives, as well as the shooting at Bondi Beach, and of course with the tragic killing of Rob Reiner and his wife. So again, this was all just a recap of incredible violence and just horror over these past few days, over the last weekend. So this is a truly tragic case. Again, during finals week, so many kids at Brown's campus. Again, Brown University, for a lot of students, and I've known some of them who are graduates, as well as those who follow me and my page that are still at Brown, have reached out to me and have said Brown is a safe haven for a lot of these students, where it's a place to come together. It's very unique for an Ivy in terms of how close the students are. This is a very traumatic moment for these students that has not happened before on this campus. And a lot of the students, to me, and also talking to Jim and our other great reporters, was they did not even think it could happen at this campus because of how tight-knit, of how close this campus is. They are reeling right now, and this is a situation that is just so much on our hearts right now.
And we know Brown did cancel the remainder of classes.
They sure did.
After this attack took place. Tony, the latest update that we had as of 9:06 is that the press conference wouldn't start for 20 minutes. So that would be around 9:25 our time. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break. We're going to leave this shot up, this 4-box, showing the chopper footage, the ground footage, and that podium shot. For anyone watching on YouTube, we'll take a 2-minute break. When we come back, we'll cover some of the other headlines we've been following today. And when that press conference gets underway, we will bring it to you live. We'll be right back.
distribution. You guys want to bet. Do you want to play the game? Play the game beautiful, but she did. Don't hide. We can play the game.
All right, welcome back to the Live Zone Primetime on this Thursday night. If you are just joining us live, these are live pictures from Salem, New Hampshire, and Providence, Rhode Island at the same time. The top left and bottom left boxes, the flashing lights and chopper video, that is Salem, New Hampshire, and that is where the suspected gunman in the Brown University shooting has reportedly been found dead of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. This was after police had apparently identified a suspect earlier this afternoon, tracked a car linked to that suspect to this storage facility, also linked to this suspect, and where they ultimately, reportedly, found the suspect dead of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. We are standing by for a press conference that you see the podium from Providence, Rhode Island Police in about 10 minutes. And when that happens, we will bring it to you live. Thank you so much for staying with us
absolutely.
on this Thursday. What's turned into a very busy
Yes,
Thursday
and I'm looking
evening.
at constant updates to see what we have from any of our reporters and
Yes,
sources on the ground there.
Understood.
My head's
In the
too down, I
meantime, though,
apologize.
we did want to talk about some other stories impacting us back here at home. And one of the big ones has to be the announcement that the Kennedy Center would be changing its name. The Trump Kennedy Center is what it will now be known as. The Kennedy Center board apparently voted unanimously to rename the iconic Performing Arts Center today. We should note the Kennedy Center board, though, was handpicked by the current president. Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt wrote on social media the change was approved because of the, quote, unbelievable work that President Trump has done over the last year in saving the building. The Kennedy Center was named after President John F. Kennedy, opened in 1971. As anyone who has been knows, it hosts a variety of events and different performances throughout the year, including theater, music, dance, and more. The move not necessarily a shock, though, to anyone who has been following the president this year, because he has repeatedly referred to the building as the Trump Kennedy Center, including at the recent World Cup Draw and Kennedy Center Honors event. Asked about the decision earlier today, the president said that he was honored.
Well, I was honored by it. The board is a very distinguished board, most distinguished people in the country. And I was surprised by it. I was honored by it. You know, we're saving the building. We saved the building. The building was in such bad shape, both physically, financially, and every other way. And now it's very solid, very strong.
So House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries called the move a disgrace and told reporters Trump's handpicked board has no authority to rename the center in the absence of legislative action. And Representative Joyce Beatty of Ohio, a Democrat who was one of the lawmakers granted a spot on the board, said in a video posted to social media that she was muted on the call and not allowed to speak her opposition.
And as I tried to push my button to voice my concern, to ask questions, and certainly not to vote in support of this, I was muted. Each time I tried to speak, I was muted. Participants were not allowed to voice their concerns who were online. Yet it was said at the end, it was a unanimous vote.
So it's no surprise to anyone who follows this president that he likes his name on things, Tony. The United States Institute of Peace recently rebranded as the Donald J. Trump Institute of Peace. The president has said he wants his name on a new Commander Stadium. There's also a bill to rename Dulles Airport working its way through Congress. Rename it after President Trump. Now, if you haven't seen, the website for the Kennedy Center has actually already featured an updated logo. You're looking at it right there. That is a post from the Rapid Response 47 with the Trump Kennedy Center logo. However, the Kennedy family has responded and they are not fans. You see this post from Tim Shriver. Perhaps the board isn't aware that the Kennedy Center is a memorial to the President of the United States, John F. Kennedy. Would they rename the Lincoln Memorial, the Jefferson? That would be an insult to great presidents. Another post, this one from Joe Kennedy III. The Kennedy Center is a living memorial to a fallen president and named for President Kennedy by federal law. It can no sooner be renamed than can someone rename the Lincoln Memorial, no matter what someone says. And finally, we have Maria Shriver posting the Kennedy Center was named after my uncle, President John F. Kennedy. It was named in his honor. He was a man who was interested in the arts, interested in culture, interested in education, language, and history. He brought the arts into the White House, and he and my Aunt Jackie amplified the arts, celebrated the arts, stood up for the arts and artists. It is beyond comprehension that the sitting president has sought to rename this great memorial dedicated to President Kennedy.
Yes, and again, this is very similar to the Department of Defense, Department of War debate, where it's an executive order by President Trump, I think it was a couple months ago, renamed the Department of Defense, Department of War. And yes, he can change that on the website. Secretary Pete Hegseth has changed his name to Secretary of War. They took down the plaque and made it the Department of War. But that is all cosmetic. That cannot be changed, enshrined forever, because it is basically federal law that the Department of Defense is the Department of Defense. It requires congressional action to overturn it, right? Just like any other piece of legislation. Same thing with the Kennedy Center. This is a living memorial to President Kennedy, just like the Lincoln Memorial, just like the Washington Monument, just like the Jefferson Memorial. That cannot be changed by executive order or by vote of an adjacent board or things of that nature. Reconciliation can't be done through any of that. It has to be done through an act of Congress, through an actual piece of legislation that changes the name. So what you could see through this is throughout the administration's time, throughout President Trump's remaining 3 years or so, it could be called, in his words, Trump Kennedy Center. He could, post things on social media, but it'll not make it so. It will not make it the actual Trump Kennedy Center. It is still the Kennedy Center in writing, in law, and all those things. Because when they did this back in the 70s, they wrote it as a law, meaning no single administration could overturn it in a whim. So they would require Congress. Judging from my perspective of how there has been some fracturing in the House caucus as well as the Senate Republican caucus, I don't see a vote for this ever coming up. Maybe it does come up for a vote, but I do not see any of this getting to that 60 vote threshold in the Senate or getting even potentially a majority in the House of Representatives. Yeah. So this is definitely more of a nomenclature for this president. It may be expanded if a future Republican president, if it's J.D. Vance or someone like a Marco Rubio comes in, maybe they keep that. But if it changes administrations, this would definitely go away as well, if not an act of Congress.
And this is one of those times where this show is handy because we want to know what you guys think about this plan to change the name to the Trump Kennedy Center. We can weigh in not only... So right now, we're probably not going to take any Zoom calls. Normally we would,
no,
but we
the
are
time
standing
with this,
by
we have like 4 or 5
this
minutes.
Press conference. I'm going to put this shot back up. But the YouTube comment section is open. We will read them. Let us know what you think about the president's plan to rename the Trump Kennedy Center in his honor, adding his name to that as opposed to adding, building something new and naming it after himself.
This is just
like,
adding it on.
For example, a new Commander Stadium.
Right, and Dulles Airport, again, there's been some news the last couple weeks that the president wants to engage in remodeling or tearing down a lot of the parts of Dulles Airport, renovating it with the goal of him being named as that beneficiary on the logo, for example. Also, the president, we'll talk about this probably in later shows, the president has tried to now step into DC's golf community and the publicly owned golf courses.
Yeah, we talked about
through
that
the National
earlier
Links
this week.
Trust. We talked about it on Take It 2 and other things. Just full transparency, I serve on that board, so just to be fully transparent.
Tony, let's take a quick break. We'll come back.
Yes.
See if this press conference is getting started.
Of course, absolutely.
We're going to leave this shot up, though, for anyone watching on YouTube. For you watching on Fox Local, we'll be back in 2 minutes. Welcome back to the Live Zone Primetime on this Thursday night, this very busy Thursday night. If you are just joining us, I'm producer Chris. This is Tony P. It is now 9:25, and we are standing by for a press conference at any moment from Rhode Island Police. An update on the Brown University shooting from this past weekend that left 2 people dead. The latest news tonight, a report that the suspected gunman has been found dead of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Earlier today, we had heard that police had identified a suspect. Then there were reports that they had identified a car linked to that suspect. That car had been found abandoned. Then there was a storage unit near that car. The suspect, who they have not named yet, apparently had a storage unit in that facility. Earlier tonight, we saw law enforcement go into that storage facility, and then we received the news from Brooke Taylor, Fox correspondent Brooke Taylor, just a little while ago, sources confirming that the suspected shooter had been found dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound inside the storage facility. So we still see some live pictures from Salem, New Hampshire. That's the top left, right above us. And then over next to Tony P on that side is where we are standing by for that press conference. Could get underway any moment, and when it does, we will bring it to you live. Tony P, also today we learned that police were investigating a possible link to the shooting death of an MIT professor
in Brookline, correct,
50 miles away from that Brown University shooting. FBI had initially said they didn't see any potential link, but another thing we could see, another question we could see answered at this press conference any minute now.
Well, and the questions are going to be also who was the shooter, identification, of course, where were they from, were they connected to the Brown University community at all, were they previously or currently connected? Because again, at the outset of this investigation, one of the complaints was there wasn't a lot of camera footage or kind of initial evidence to go off of to track this person. It took a few days. The FBI did have a person of interest originally that was talked about. Then that person was no longer a person of interest. Then they had these developments happen in the last 24 hours or so, where it was led to this car being seen outside, I think it was an extra space storage facility in Salem, New Hampshire, right on the Massachusetts-New Hampshire border, just to give you a context of the timing of where all these places are. So Salem, New Hampshire sits literally at the northern crest of the New Hampshire-Massachusetts border. It's where I'm from. Many people in my neighboring, my hometown, Methuen, Mass, police were assisting tonight and telling residents to not go near that kind of tight New Hampshire border, New Hampshire to Massachusetts border. And that's kind of what they call Route 28. That's the Route 28 corridor, where you go up and you go right to the New Hampshire side of that border. And basically, this is a very commercial area, so that's why everything's being blocked off right now. The question is, these locations, how are they connected? Because if there's a true connection to the MIT shooting, that's Brookline to Salem, New Hampshire, that area, that's about a 45 to 50-minute distance in terms of driving, okay? And then for Providence, about 2.5 hours with traffic. So again, where is this person from originally? That's things that I think we'll want to find out in this press conference. What is their ties to Brown? What does it mean that it's happening here in Salem, New Hampshire? What is the meaning behind any of that? And what is their connection to these multiple cases? Because now we're looking at it as multiple homicides potentially connected to this one person. And now with this, this gunshot wound, the suspect is now dead. That makes finding the motive even harder for authorities. Do they now look at things like a cell phone record? They look at things like social media posts or items of that nature. Was there a manifesto before any of these horrific events took place? So it's now going to be a lot of after the fact evidence collecting, because now you do not have the suspect to either interrogate or prosecute and have the evidence come forward.
So we are still standing by for that press conference, and like I said, we will bring it to you live as soon as it gets underway. Right now you're looking at some Skyfox footage live above that storage facility where that abandoned car was found, where that suspected gunman was found dead of a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
I'm trying trying to find any updates
No, that's
I can
okay.
see.
We're going to just leave these live pictures
Okay.
up while we stand by for
Sorry,
it.
I feel like I'm sorry if I'm looking down so much.
Trust me, we appreciate all of our viewers, and I know they don't necessarily need us to talk over everything the entire time.
Right,
That's the
correct.
beauty of this
Yes.
raw type of show that we are bringing to you on a nightly basis.
Will be something to look at from the press conference as well as in future days with this investigation that will obviously be ongoing, is how did FBI sources make the connection to the car that was used? What was that process? Is that how, did they use city cameras, or was there a license plate connection? Again, the car is what drew the FBI and other law enforcement to this facility in Salem, New Hampshire, on the Massachusetts-New Hampshire border. And again, it's right in the center of that commercial area.
And what led to them suspecting a possible link
Right,
with this shooting
Exactly.
of an MIT professor as well.
right. And is there any link in motive between these cases, you know, that run through it? And again, that's going to be a big part of, I would say, the FBI's more digital or computer team to look at where is this person from? Do they, you know, where's their home base? Is there kind of a digital track record online, streaming wise, computers, phone? Are there friends and relatives that they'll be interviewed in the aftermath now that they do, you know, they do know who this person is now? They are obviously in the process of being identified. And what will that look like in terms of why did this happen? Because in these two cases, you know, two universities, were they similar in circumstance? Was there a similar motive? Who knows? Again, it just, you know, beyond all this though, Chris, you know, we get into the weeds of, you know, a lot of cases like this, we'll always get into the weeds of who was this person and why did they do it, right? And we sometimes forget that lives were lost. And, you know, the fanfare, sadly, sometimes comes from the chasing and finding this person and finding out why they did something, right? We have to remember that these are innocent lives that were taken, whether it be the professor at MIT or the two beautiful souls as well that we lost at Brown University. So that's just one thing I hope we can all think about as we go through this process of figuring out what has happened here, because this is an absolute tragedy, not just for the country, but for the Brown University students and for the victims and their families at Brown and MIT.
So we are still standing by for that press conference to get underway any moment now. We're going to stay here. We're going to stay on this shot, but we're going to take a quick break from talking over it. We'll leave these live pictures up. We'll be back when we have something to report.
Actually, they want to know.
All right, it looks like they're walking out now. We are going to take you there live.
Chris, come over to this side. Take the X that says CP. Sure. We got everybody? Great. Well, good evening, everybody. Tonight, our Providence neighbors can finally breathe a little easier. In a minute, Colonel Perez will share the latest details on the investigation, but I want to thank the people of Providence for stepping up and coming together during an extraordinarily difficult time. I know this has been hard on all of us. Over the past 5 days, minutes have felt like hours, but the people of Providence have done what we're best at. We've leaned on one another, come together, and supported one another, and showed the nation what a tight-knit community looks like. It was because of the information provided to us by neighbors and the tireless work of our Providence Police Department, the Rhode Island State Police, the FBI, the ATF, and many other federal partners. The incredible prosecutorial advice and guidance that we received from the Attorney General's office. We all worked well together to be able to identify this suspect. I know we will have a lot of questions still, and we will continue to work to get those answers. But it is a great honor for me to turn this over to our Chief of Police, Colonel Oscar Perez, and I will say on behalf of the people of Providence, we owe him and every member of the Providence Police Department the deepest debt of gratitude. Colonel?
Thank you very much, Mayor. Well, first and foremost, I want to offer my deepest condolences to the families, the victims. It was for them that this work was put together to make sure that they get the justice that they deserve and to ensure that this person was held accountable. Second thing I'll tell you is that I'm extremely proud of this department, actually the officers, the detectives, the Real-Time Crime Center, the Community Response Team, the Intelligence Division, the Narcotics Division, the Task Force. This past Saturday, as you all know, December 13, Providence Police Department and Brown University Police Department responded to this horrific tragedy at Brown University 184 Hope. Our officers were there within minutes. That same day, Providence Police detectives immediately went to work. Looking for video footage to see who this individual was and who was responsible. A person of interest was identified from that video footage. The person of interest was observed on Hope Street, turning onto Waterman Street, and that was one of the first videos that we released. At the same time, every federal agency you can think of was reaching out to the Providence Police Department and responded to the capital city. Images were shared with media within hours. Persons of interest it was the same individual that has been the focus of this investigation since the beginning. All the new images that we received of this person of interest were shared with the media continuously over the past 6 days. This critical evidence was collected with the use of public assistance. As the mayor stated, I'm proud to be the chief of police of this city. I'm proud to be a product of this city for the reasons that the mayor stated. The community stepped up. It was all about groundwork, public assistance, interviews of individuals, and good old-fashioned policing. That is the type of police work that every police officer in this nation reminds themselves of, and that many do not understand. And that is critically important and often succeeds where technology alone cannot. We looked at financial records, we looked at video footages, and in the specific incident, it was actually a video that provided us with a description of a vehicle. That was corroborated through a tip that was received through the tip center. That room was packed with detectives, agents, receiving calls on a daily basis. We started early and left late. Then Flock and the LPR was able to provide us with this description of this vehicle. That vehicle was picked up by Flock, which led us to a car rental place in Massachusetts. Through that, the agents and their work as well were able to get us footage of this individual, as well as a copy of the agreement, which provided his real name. The video of that subject matched the description of that person of interest that this police department was desperate to put handcuffs on. That individual was identified as Claudio Neves Valenti, date of birth, and he was a 48-year-old man. He was a Brown student, he was a Portuguese national, and his last known address was in Miami, Florida. And I will tell you that he took his own life tonight. We have members of the Providence Police Department up in Salem, New Hampshire, and we also have the BCI unit. Obviously, the FBI and their evidence recovery unit is up there, so the process is being conducted as we speak. And it goes without saying that I would like to personally thank the efforts again of the Providence Police Department, the Rhode Island State Police, the Rhode Island Attorney General, the FBI, the ATF, HSI, the U.S. Marshals, IRS, DEA, Secret Service, and NCIS. There is no way that we could have done this by ourselves. In this nation, when horrific incidents like this happen, law enforcement steps up. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Colonel. General Arona?
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. You know, I would describe the emotions on the investigative team, including our prosecutors and the agents, detectives from both state police, Providence, as mixed. You know, there is a sense of completeness in terms of the investigation, an investigation that's, if not the hardest, among the handful of hardest investigations that I've ever been involved with. And the sense that we owed those 2 dead Brown students and the 9 injured Brown students and the students who were in that auditorium that weren't injured, and the Brown community and the Providence community results. The teams worked really hard. I think I mentioned that to you almost every night that we met with you. I wish they were all up here with us. That we wouldn't fit here, but it was remarkable to see the cooperation between the FBI agents, the ATF agents, the HSI agents, the Providence police detectives, the state police detectives, our prosecutors. And I will say that everybody brought a certain expertise to the table, but it is nevertheless a sad moment when you think about those young people who were hurt, injured, or worse, 2 of them are now deceased. You know, to me, this was always going to be an investigation where something was going to break it open. We were going to pull threads. We were going to gather evidence that would lead us in a particular direction. And I will say that if we were with you less than, well, I guess now more than 24 hours ago, we had that picture of that second individual. And I would say within an hour, no more than 2, I think it was under an hour, that person came forward to 2 Providence police officers over on the east side and said he had information, that he was that person and he had information that could help this case. And I remember last night watching his interview, and he blew this case right open. He blew it open. And that's how these cases sometimes go. You can feel like you're not making a lot of progress. You can feel like you're chasing leads and they don't work out. But the team keeps going because, you know, those of us with experience know that you're going to pull a lot of threads, and it's not always the first one that's going to get you where you need to go. But when you do crack it, you crack it. And that person led us to the car, which led us to the name, which led us to the photographs of that individual renting the car, which matched the clothing of our shooter here in Providence, that matched the satchel that we see here in Providence. He was found dead with a satchel with 2 firearms and evidence in the car that that matches exactly what we see at the scene here in Providence. And so I know that you and the public have questions about how we got from a place yesterday where all we could share with you was a photograph of someone we wanted to talk to where we got to tonight. And so we got a state arrest warrant for murder today that was signed by a district court judge for this individual. There won't be a prosecution now, of course, but that affidavit is on our website, and you will be able to see more and read more about how this investigation unfolded. I won't get you all the way there because there are some things that happened afterwards which led us to this suspect's body in New Hampshire. But it will, I think, tell you, give you a sense of the work that went into this by the line prosecutors and the line agents and detectives from the agencies that work so well together. So, as I said, it's with mixed emotions. It is unimaginable, the pain that the parents and families of the deceased are feeling tonight and will feel undoubtedly for quite a while. But I hope that by bringing this person to justice, that we can at least give them the beginnings of some measure of closure. And I want to thank you all for your patience with me when I got a little testy with some of you. Those of you who know me from Rhode Island, you know that's my nature. So I really want to thank you for your patience. Thank you.
Thank you, General. As has been said several times, the partnership with the FBI was invaluable, and so it's a pleasure to introduce Special Agent in charge of FBI, Ted Dox.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening. My name is Ted Dox, Special Agent in charge of FBI Boston. We got him. Shortly before 9 o'clock tonight, the FBI SWAT team executed court-authorized search warrants at a storage unit facility in Hampshire Road in Salem, New Hampshire. This is where we located Claudio Neves Valente, the individual who we believe was responsible for the Brown shooting. The latest developments in an intense 5-day manhunt, and as a result of an incredible amount of work dedicated by the law enforcement team standing here before you tonight. Every single agency brought their unique skills and expertise to this investigation, and we're motivated by the victims and survivors of this horrific incident. Even though the suspect was found dead tonight, our work is not done. There are many questions that need to be answered. There's a lot of evidence that needs to be processed, and most importantly, the victims and their families deserve special care and consideration. The FBI and our partners across Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and New Hampshire will continue to search for answers for the victims, survivors, and their families, to see what motivated this individual to carry out such a senseless act of violence. From the onset of this critical incident, it's been all hands on deck. The FBI deployed approximately 500 special agents, analysts, task force officers, and support personnel to assist our partners in this investigation. In addition to this extra manpower, all our specialty teams were activated, including Evidence Response Team, SWAT, Divert, and Victim Services Response Team, just to name a few. A special thanks to you, the media, as well as to the community. My sincere thanks to Colonel Perez, Colonel Weaver, AG Nerona, Brown University PD, and all of our partners. This was truly a team effort. Thank you.
Thank you. Another critical partner at every step along the way was the ATF. I'd like to introduce Special Agent in charge of the ATF, Tom Greco.
Good evening. My name is Tom Greco, the Special Agent in charge of ATF Boston. From the moment 911 reports of the shooting at Brown University came through, there's been an around-the-clock effort to identify the perpetrator and to protect the community. The men and women of ATF, including our special agents, our intelligence research specialists, and our support personnel, have been proud to support and be part of that effort, leveraging our unique experience, dedicated investigators, canine handlers, and crime gun intelligence technology such as NIBIN, the National Integrated Ballistics information network to compare ballistic evidence, and our other available tools to support the investigation, and to help identify Claudio Neves Valente as the individual that we believe was responsible. ATF's mission, first and foremost, is to protect communities from violent crime. Each individual in this country deserves to live in peace and security in their homes, in their schools, in their places of worship, and in the streets. The actions of Claudio Neves Valente stole that right and terrorized the community. I'd like to emphasize to the public, this was a highly dangerous individual capable of extreme violence. And we're happy to have been part of this investigation and proud to have worked with our partners to identify him and see this through. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. From the very outset on Saturday, from our first press conference in the fire station to today, Rhode Island Governor Dan McKee has been by Providence's side every step of the way. The City of Providence is incredibly grateful for the Governor's support, the State Police, not just their assistance with the investigation, but in supporting the broader community. It's a pleasure to introduce Governor Dan McKee.
Thanks, Mayor, and clearly your staff, I feel the same way with the team that you have, that we were happily able to assist. And as a former mayor, many of here in the audience know that I've been a mayor, some don't, but I empathize and sympathize with the position that you were in and the fact that you needed people to follow the lead of the Providence Police and to partner in with some extraordinary people, whether it's with the FBI or the ATF, and of course our state police as well. From the very beginning, my thoughts as a dad was with the families who suffered from the shooting. The unthinkable happened in our state. The unthinkable happened in Providence. The unthinkable happened at Brown University. And we're going to be forever changed. But our commitment from the state level is to continue to support Providence, Brown, and the people of the state of Rhode Island in the recovery. That's going to take a great deal of time. But I do say this. The professionalism that I saw in the law enforcement should make everyone that lives in our state and beyond our borders feel very safe. These things happen, but it requires some professional help in law enforcement to bring it to the conclusion that we've been able to bring it to. So, Colonel, thank you, everybody involved. And again, we will stand with Providence and Brown University and the people of the state of Rhode Island to provide the help that will be needed in the recovery in a trauma like this.
Thank you, Governor. Throughout the year, the Rhode Island State Police is an incredible partner to Providence, but during this investigation, their support was invaluable. I introduce Colonel of the State Police, Colonel Weaver.
My name is Colonel Darnell Weaver, the Superintendent of the Rhode Island State Police. I want to begin by recognizing the excellent and exceptional efforts of the Providence Police Department and Colonel Oscar Perez. From the very first moments of this investigation, the Providence Police Department has worked collaboratively and relentlessly day and night on this investigation while protecting our capital city. Their detectives followed facts, developed evidence, and pursued every credible lead. Colonel Perez's leadership has been steady and decisive, focused on identifying the person responsible for this tragedy. As always, our troopers stepped up, working shoulder to shoulder with the Providence Police and our local, state, and federal partners. I want to give particular recognition to our detectives whose diligence and dedication contributed to this investigation. Our detectives and division leadership operated as a unified team, sharing intelligence, resources, and expertise. This has truly been an all-hands-on-deck investigation, as virtually every trooper has taken extra shifts to help support the efforts in Providence, and I have never been prouder to be a member of the Rhode Island State Police. This year marks the 100th anniversary of the Rhode Island State Police, and this case stands out among one of the most challenging in our state's history. The sheer volume of digital evidence, the complexity of the investigation, and the intense public interest played an extraordinary demands on everyone involved. Despite that pressure, investigators remain disciplined, methodical, and focused on facts. We are grateful for the assistance of the public, particularly those who shared our information, provided tips, and gave us doorbell camera footage and access to their property. We are also thankful for the ongoing support of Rhode Islanders. We know that you have been with us through this entire investigation. I also want to be very clear about something else. Criminal investigations are grounded in evidence, not speculation or online commentary. The endless barrage of misinformation, disinformation, rumors, leaks, and clickbait were not helpful in this investigation. Distractions and unfounded criticisms do not support this work. They complicate it and threaten to undermine the justice we seek for the victims and the grieving families. Despite these challenges, good police work prevailed, and we have lessons that we can bring forward from these long days ahead. To the Brown University community and the people of Rhode Island, be assured that this case reflects the law enforcement community and what we are capable of, and that we are committed to this state. We will continue to support the victims and the broader community as the healing continues. Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel. Providence is so proud to be home to Brown University, and we are committed to working together with them in the future as they help heal their community as we do our broader Providence community. We continue to give condolences to the deceased and our prayers to those who are recovering. The leader of Brown has been a great partner through this whole process. I'd like to introduce President Christina Paxson from Brown University.
Thank you. You know, nothing can really fully bring closure to the lives that have been shattered over the past week, but this may allow our community to move forward and begin a path of repair and recovery and healing. I want to thank the dedicated law enforcement agencies that have worked so tirelessly on this case, really around the clock, as well as our neighbors and others who participated in giving tips and helping with the investigation. We hope that this outcome tonight brings an increased sense of safety for our community at Brown and in the surrounding area. This has been a period of great fear and anxiety for many people, and now perhaps some form of relief. Truly, this week has been devastating for our community in a number of ways, including the experiences that members of our community have had with being targeted by online rumors and accusations. And I hope that this development also means an end to this truly troubling activity. So we remain focused on the safety and security of our community and in support for the victims of this senseless violence. Now, we know the public and our own Brown community members will want to know more about the individual now identified by law enforcement as the suspect in last weekend's shooting. And we can confirm the following to the best of our knowledge, based on our review in the very short time since law enforcement authorities made us aware of this development. And we provided this information to law enforcement as they build their case and wrap up the investigation. So Claudia Manuel Neves Valente was enrolled at Brown from the fall of 2000 to the spring of 2001. He was admitted to Brown's graduate school to study in the Master's of Science PhD program in physics, beginning on September 1st, 2000. And he took a leave of absence effective April 2001 before formally withdrawing effective July 31st, 2003. During his time at Brown, Nueves Valente was enrolled only in physics classes. The majority of physics classes at Brown have always been held within the Barris and Hawley classrooms and labs. Now, detailed records indicating where specific courses were held don't extend back to 2001. But we can say that physics classes typically require access to specialized equipment, including demonstration carts that are a fixed asset in some of Barris and Hawley classrooms. So I think it's safe to assume that this man, when he was a student, spent a great deal of time in that building for classes and other activities as a PhD student in physics. He has no current active affiliation with the university or campus presence. So again, we thank law enforcement and so many others for their extensive work on this case, day and night, and we look forward to a sense of restored safety for Brown, Providence, and the Rhode Island communities. Thank you.
Thank you, President Paxson. The last speaker, and then we will take your questions, is the Chief of the Brown Police Department, Chief Chapman. Remember, his officers were the first to respond on Saturday, and we are so grateful for both their immediate and heroic response and their partnership over the last 5 days. Chief?
I want to express my ongoing prayers and care and concern for our entire community. I certainly also want to acknowledge and thank the men and women of the Brown University Police and Public Safety for their efforts. As you see, this was a Herculean task and required a lot of collaboration and work. And our officers and our public safety personnel were shoulder to shoulder with these assets. I do want to also thank all of you who have helped citizens and law enforcement. That partnership and collaboration means the world to us, and we couldn't have gotten there without you. So thank you.
Thank you, Chief. We'll now open up to questions. Go ahead. Go ahead.
What led authorities to link the incidents between Brown University and MIT?
Yep, I can do that.
And I can follow up to that.
Yeah, I'll start. I'll just tell you that a lot of the information and evidence that we ended up gathering linked us to a connection up in Massachusetts, obviously at the MIT, but I feel a respect to the authorities in Mass as well as the FBI that's for them to comment, but I'll tell you that the groundwork that started in the city of Providence by our detectives, the detective division under the command of Major LePayan, as well as the federal partners that we had in our room upstairs, and ATF, the FBI, led us to that connection, and so that was great work.
Does FBI want to weigh in on that? And then I have a follow-up.
I think through that particular link that you're talking about, that case is being worked out of Massachusetts with the leadership of U.S. Attorney Leah Foley. I believe that they're having a press conference today as well, where they'll reveal more to the general public at that time. I'd be remiss to start and kind of talk on this, to let them kind of have first dibs to kind of be the ones to tell the public about those particular links.
And your follow-up.
But your follow-up,
Yes,
sir.
then, as for the second person who came forward, what did that person tell you, and did that person know the shooter?
So yeah, obviously I had mentioned at the last press conference that it was a person that we wanted to speak with. The work of the video collections that we had led us to identify that there was a person that actually encountered this individual. So it corroborated everything that we saw. We saw our person of interest. We saw that there was a vehicle involved. When this person came in, broke the case in the sense that explained to us exactly what we thought we had seen and put that individual at the crime scene. Obviously, that was the break, because we knew that we were in the right direction to ensure that we were going after this individual that obviously took his life.
Colonel.
Go ahead. Steve.
Thank you, Mayor. Did Mr. Valenti act alone, and is there an anti-Semitism component behind this, do you expect?
As far as we know, Steve, he acted alone.
And is there an anti-Semitism component to this?
No, that we know of, no.
John.
Colonel, what was the events that led to the storage facility? So was he pursued there? Did he know authorities were going after him? When was he last alive? Like, how did that play out?
So it plays out in the sense that we obviously, I just stated, we collected all the evidence. We were able to learn that there was a rental vehicle. We learned about that vehicle. There was financial records that were verified by the FBI, obviously, and other agencies. I'm sorry, actually, so another agency, so multiple agencies that verified financial records that brought us to that site to know that he had actually rented a site at the storage unit, and then we ended up in Salem.
And a follow-up.
Yeah.
When he did that, did he know authorities were coming, or did he just go and, like, how long had he been in that storage unit?
That we're not aware of, John, in the sense that all we knew is that we were on a manhunt, and that's what it led us to. So.
Amanda.
Oh, thanks. Chief, some questions for you, Claudio. So he graduated, he didn't graduate, he was at Brown more than 20 years ago. His last known address was in Miami, but now he's here at Brown University, potentially also at MIT. What do you know about what brought him up here?
There's going to be unknown answers that we have no answer as far as that. Obviously, came up here and committed this horrific incident and this tragedy, and that's all we knew. Our mission was to ensure that we could find him and bring him to justice, but yeah, no. At this point, correct.
My follow-up is, of the evidence that you've collected, have you collected the handgun that you believe was used in the shooting? Have you collected any type of manifesto or evidence that he planned more shootings?
So as far as I know, that's the FBI evidence recovery team is up in Salem, New Hampshire, and they're collecting whatever evidence is up there. This happened just now as before we came up here.
Bill.
Any criminal history, political affiliations, any social media posts, anything of that sort that you can report to us about Mr. Valenti?
Nothing that I know of, Steve.
Behind him. Go ahead, white shirt.
Is there any indication that Mr. Valenti was planning any future attacks?
Nothing that we know of, no.
In the way back.
Special Agent Docs, can you also tell us if the connection, I know you said you can't talk too much about the MIT, but the fact that it was a physics professor out of MIT and in the physics building and he was studying physics, have you tied all that up, and does that lead, why target one person in Massachusetts and then a whole class here in Providence?
Yes, it is true that Mr. Valenti was a physics student. Also, we know that the MIT, the victim there, was in that discipline as well. I will tell you that there's multiple phases to an investigation, and so now in a sense that we know the subject is deceased, now that investigation continues to find out all of those answers to your question, sir.
Did you go to school with a professor? Did you go to school with a professor who was killed? Can Brown answer that?
It is believed that in Lisbon that those two individuals attended the same university in Portugal.
You have a follow-up in the back.
Muy poquito.
Go for it.
But,
Sorry, empiezo desde el principio.
Lo que nos pueda resumir acerca del caso, ¿qué fue lo que conllevó a que ustedes pudieran dar con el paradero del sospechoso y las conexiones que tuvieron? ¿Cómo llegaron a rastrearlo y más que nada a qué atribuye todo esto?
So the question was if I can briefly explain how we got to this individual and what occurred. So, verdaderamente lo que pasó, obviamente el incidente del sábado 13 nos llevó a tomar evidencias, colectar evidencias de videos, de informaciones, y expliqué que es muy importante el trabajo de los policías y los detectives en el piso, haciendo el trabajo duro, recolectando videos, recolectando testimonios. En este tipo de casos recibimos información, obviamente, de los videos que colectamos. Nos dimos cuenta que había un vehículo de interés y una persona de interés desde el principio. Eso nos llevó a después informarnos de la placa del carro, la descripción del carro, y eso nos llevó a darnos cuenta de que esa persona había rentado el vehículo en una compañía en Massachusetts. Después de que fuimos a Massachusetts, cogimos videos de la persona Esa persona era en la misma descripciones de la persona de interés de nosotros acá en la ciudad de Providence. De ahí pasamos con los agentes federales a investigar un poco más y llegamos a los récords financieros que nos llevó a Salem, New Hampshire, en esta noche. Allá hubo una entrada táctica del equipo del FBI y encontramos que esta persona se había quitado la vida ellos mismos. Ahora estamos investigando más si hay algo que necesitamos saber más de él.
Alex.
Colonel, or is there a note or manifesto of some kind, and is that providing any information about a motive or anything that they might have found any information?
Again, the FBI recovery team and forensics are up in Salem, New Hampshire. At this point, we don't have any of that.
Any indication of why now? What's the significance behind why this happened on Saturday?
That we don't know.
Yeah, I don't think we know the answer to that question. I think there's a lot of unknowns with respect to motive. I mean, I think that the real issue here is the key was to identify this person, as we talked about yesterday. I think there are other answers that are coming, but once we were able to identify him, thanks to that individual who came forward, who led us to a plate, which led us to a rental car, which led us to that he rented that car in his own name. That really broke the case open. But in terms of why Brown, I think that is a mystery. I think there may be something going on in Massachusetts that I'm not fully familiar with because we're working this angle, but I think the Massachusetts authorities may be able to share that. Yeah, I don't think we have any idea why now or why Brown, why these students, why this classroom. That is really unknown to us, and it may become clear. I hope that it does, but it hasn't as of right now.
Fox, go ahead.
This is for the Colonel or the Attorney General. At 2:16 was a surveillance video that showed the second person that apparently blew this case wide open, and also Mr. Valente. You see them disappear behind bushes. Was this second person following the shooter? Did he recognize him and confront him? What was that interaction like? And I have a follow-up.
That's a great question, and I'll be all explained in the affidavit that the general stated they will be released. But I'll give you a brief sort of explanation about that. The person that we wanted to speak with had an interaction with this individual earlier in the day, then observed him later at that time where you just stated, and decided that he was going to encounter him and asked him why he was inside Brown. At that point, the subject of interest, Neves, actually ran. He was caught up by our person that we wanted to speak with. There was sort of a conversation between the two of them, and Neves asked him, "Why are you harassing me?" And at that point, the person that broke the case walked away. And that information was critical to us because he was able to corroborate what our detectives were seeing on video, and he was able to provide a great explanation.
And my follow-up question
Yes.
is, why did it take a citizen to notice a suspicious person right next to Brown University and not the police? And also, how long was the vehicle parked where it was? And was it days, hours, minutes? What are we talking
It appeared to be days as far as the evidence. Why would a civilian observe that to be suspicious? It's a great point. And I like the fact that you're mentioning that and bringing that up. That's what we should all be doing, right? And it's just personality. Some people are more interested in finding out what others are doing. In this particular case, this person decided that he wanted to, and I'm glad he did.
Should the police be interested in that?
That's it.
Citizens? That's what I was
In the back.
Now that the suspect, Attorney General, now that the suspect won't be prosecuted, can you explain what he yelled in the classroom to America tonight so people can feel a little more comfortable?
Sure.
Was there something, terrorist related? Was it something specific to the kids in that class?
Yeah.
What did he say? Can you now tell us?
Yeah, well, back to that question just for a minute, just to clarify that. They had a interaction in the bathroom in Barris and Holly. So, I don't know, the Providence Police is obviously not going to patrol Barris and Holly. That's a question frankly, for Brown and their police department. So they had an interaction there, and then our citizen, followed him out because to him, as he explained it to us, this guy did not belong there. And so that's why he followed him out. In terms of what was said, I don't know any more today than what I told you yesterday, or the day before. There are some witnesses who said he said nothing. There are some that say he made a barking noise. Don't ask me. I don't know why. And that's it. There is no other spoken word beyond that that we are aware of as we stand before you tonight. And we have spoken to everybody that we have been able to locate who's been inside that building.
And just to the special agent in charge, my follow-up question is, can you just be clear to the people of Massachusetts, and I know you said the people in Norfolk County and investigators in Mass, but you did say a few days ago, you talked to the colonel of the state police and said there's no connection between Brookline and what happened here in Rhode Island. But now you're saying there was a connection, so are you saying that he shot up Brown University, then 2 days later he was at his house in Brookline to shoot this MIT professor, and then he just drove up to Salem, New Hampshire for no reason? How did he get into a storage facility?
No, I think that's a great question. My actual statement was that we didn't see a connection at that time. But absolutely, I spoke to the colonel. Right now, that case is being resided over by U.S. Attorney Leah Foley. They're having a press conference at 10 o'clock tonight, I believe. I think at that time, they will speak to that particular case. I would be getting a little bit ahead of my skis if I spoke to that case without consultation with Leah Foley and her team, as we've been in the trenches working this up to the minute today, sir.
Because 2 days ago you didn't know they were connected, now you're saying they appear to be.
Yes, and that's how cases often go. I would say at that time, when that question was asked of me, there was no indication of a link at that time. As we've talked